The appearance of the living creatures. Ezekiel 1:10-14. Regarding the form and appearance of their faces, they each had the face of a man in front, and each had the face of a lion on the right side, and the face of an ox on the left side. All four also had the face of an eagle at the back of their heads. Such were their faces. Among the living beings there was something that looked like burning coals of fire, like torches moving back and forth among the living beings. The fire was bright and lightning was flashing from the fire, and the living beings moved rapidly back and forth like flashes of lightning. In John's vision of heaven, there appeared to be 4 different creatures. Since the beginning of time, students of the Bible, students in general, and artists have been inspired by these 4 different faces. The cherubim are a group of celestial beings created by God. They are the first of the angelic hierarchy to appear in the Bible, immediately following Adam and Eve's fall from grace. Genesis 3 records the events in the Garden of Eden. Having violated God's commandment not to partake of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, it would have been likely for Adam and Eve to reach out their hands and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. As a result, they were forced to leave their earthly paradise. But what would have stopped Adam from going back to the garden and disobeying God again? The answer is given in this verse. What a terrible situation it would have been if Adam had eaten of the tree of life and so have been perpetually established in his fallen state. God sent a contingent of glorious and trusted cherubim to guard access to the tree to prevent that. We don't know Adam's reaction to witnessing those glorious cherubim for the first time in human history. Perhaps awe, fright, and wonder are all emotions that come to mind. Adam realized that his transgression had cut him off from the company and presence of a holy God. Oddly enough, the next occurrence of the cherubim in the Bible involves recovering what was lost. In Exodus 25, Moses was given specific and detailed instructions on how to make several articles of furniture that would be used in the tabernacle. The Ark of the Covenant and the mercy seat, where God promised to meet and commune with Moses, were the first to be detailed. What did God want to go over or on top of the mercy seat? He chose representations of the cherubim in gold. What an awesome sight that must have been, the cherubim associated with the very presence of God. From those 2 sources in the Bible, it appears as though the cherubim's major responsibility may be to declare man's sinfulness and protect the presence of God from sinful men. As much as Adam yearned to return to the Garden of Eden, the cherubim reminded him that he had broken God's law. The high priest of Israel would be allowed into the Holy of Holies once a year to gaze upon the mercy seat. I'm sure he must have felt on each occasion, "I don't belong here in the holy presence of God, for I am a sinner." Cherubim are real and powerful beings. However, the cherubim in the Bible were often representative of heavenly things. They were integrated into the design of the Ark of the Covenant and the tabernacle at God's command. Ezekiel 10:8-14. Under the wings of the cherubim could be seen what looked like human hands. Their entire bodies, including their backs, their hands and their wings, were completely full of eyes, as were their 4 wheels. The cherubim are shown in Ezekiel 10 as having not only wings and hands, but also being full of eyes, encompassed by wheels within wheels. However, Ezekiel also paints a gloomy tone in chapter 10, and the cherubim provide the hint. The prophet presents his vision that prophesies the destruction of Jerusalem. In Ezekiel 9:3, the Lord has descended from his throne above the cherubim to the threshold of the temple. In the calm before the storm, we see the cherubim stationed on the south side of the sanctuary. Being stationed in a position toward the city, they witness the beginning of the gradual withdrawal of God's glory from Jerusalem. The fluttering of their wings indicates immensely important events to follow. While Ezekiel 10 is difficult to understand, one point comes across clearly. The cherubim are associated with God's splendor. This chapter is one of the Bible's most cryptic, yet evocative passages about God's grandeur, and it involves angelic beings. It should be read with care and prayer. Few other chapters in the Bible give the reader a feeling of God's greatness and glory. While the seraphim and cherubim are members of distinct hierarchies and are shrouded in mystery in the Bible, they have one thing in common. They constantly glorify God. But as wonderful as angelic and heavenly beings are, they pale in comparison to our heavenly Lamb, the Lord of glory, before whom all powers in heaven and on earth bow in holy worship and breathless adoration. Psalms 81. Hear us, Shepherd of Israel, you who lead Joseph like a flock. You who sit enthroned between the cherubim, shine forth. God's glory will not be denied, and every heavenly being gives silent or vocal testimony to the splendor of God. In the tabernacle in the wilderness, designs representing the guardian cherubim formed a part of the mercy seat and were made of gold. Exodus 25:18. The cherubim did more than protect God's most holy place from those who had no right to be there. They also assured the high priest's right to enter the holy place with blood as the people's mediator with God. He, and he alone, was allowed to enter into the inner sanctuary of the Lord. By right of redemption, and in accordance with the status of believers, each true child of God now has straightforward access as a believer priest to the presence of God through Jesus. Cherubim will not refuse the humblest Christian access to the throne. They assure us that we can come boldly because of Christ's work on the cross. The veil in the temple has been rent. As Paul says, "Ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and of the household of God." Ephesians 2:19. Further, Peter assures, "Ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, an holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who have called you out of darkness into his marvelous light." 1 Peter 2:9. The inner sanctuary of God's throne is always open to those who have repented of sin and trusted Christ as Savior.